The ship moved through the darkness of space like a small light in an endless ocean. Commander T. Woojin stood at the window of the bridge, watching the stars pass by. Behind him, the crew worked in silence. Everyone knew where they were going. Everyone knew what was at stake. Earth was dying. 3 months ago, the Valorian Empire had arrived in Earth's solar system. They came with a fleet of 200 warships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They did not come to talk. They did not come to trade. They came to take. The Valorians were harvesters. They moved from planet to planet, stripping worlds of their resources, their water, their minerals, and sometimes their people. They had done this to dozens of worlds across the galaxy. Now it was Earth's turn. Humanity had fought back. Of course they had. That was what humans did. But their weapons were too weak. Their ships were too slow. In the first week of fighting, Earth lost half of its fleet. Cities burned. Millions died. The survivors hid underground, waiting for an end that seemed certain to come. But Woojin refused to accept that end. He had gathered what remained of Earth's fleet and made a decision that many called foolish. He would travel to Meridian Prime, the great space station where the Galactic Council met. He would ask them for help. The Council represented over 300 species from across the galaxy. Surely, Woojin thought, they would not let an entire world die. Dr. Kim Yuna stood beside him now, her arms crossed over her chest. She was Earth's best xenobiologist, one of the few humans who had studied alien species before the invasion. She knew how the Council worked. She knew their politics, their fears, their pride, and she was worried. "They will not help us," she said quietly. "I have studied them for years. The Council does not interfere in conflicts unless it benefits them." "Then we will make them see the benefit," Woojin replied. His voice was calm, but his hands were tight fists at his sides. Behind them, Lieutenant Park Seok checked his weapon for the 10th time. He was a pilot, one of the best Earth had ever produced. He had shot down 17 Valorian fighters in the first battle, but here, on this diplomatic mission, his guns meant nothing. He felt useless, and he hated that feeling. "Commander," said the navigation officer, "we are approaching Meridian Prime." Woojin looked ahead. The station appeared slowly from the darkness, and his breath caught in his throat. Meridian Prime was enormous. It was built in the shape of a great wheel, spinning slowly against the backdrop of a blue nebula. Thousands of ships surrounded it, coming and going like bees around a hive. Lights glittered across its surface, and Woojin could see towers and domes and structures he could not even name. Humanity had only learned of the Council's existence 5 years ago. They had only been allowed to visit twice. Compared to the ancient species that ruled this place, humans were newborns. "Take us in," Woojin ordered. The docking process took an hour. Earth's ship, the Horizon, was directed to a distant platform far from the main ports. A small insult, but Woojin ignored it. He had bigger concerns. When the airlock opened, they were met by a tall creature with silver skin and 4 arms. It was a Melori, one of the administrative species that managed the station. The creature looked at them with something that might have been curiosity or might have been disgust. "You are the humans," it said. Its voice was flat and cold. "I am Commander T. Woojin of Earth. I request an audience with the Council." "Your request has been noted. You will be given time to speak. Follow me." They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Aliens of every shape and size passed them by. Some walked on 2 legs. Some floated in the air. Some moved on dozens of tiny limbs. A few glanced at the humans with interest. Most did not look at all. Yuna leaned close to Woojin. "Remember, the High Arbiter is named Melthos. He has led the Council for over 3,000 years. His word is law here. If we can convince him, we have a chance." "And if we cannot?" Yuna did not answer. The Council chamber was a vast dome, larger than any stadium on Earth. Seats rose in circles around a central platform, and those seats were filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds. The noise was overwhelming at first. a mix of languages and sounds that the translation device in Wu Jin's ear struggled to process. At the highest point of the chamber sat the High Arbiter. Melthos was ancient. His body was thin and gray, his eyes were pure white, and he moved with the slow care of something that had seen countless centuries pass. When Wu Jin entered the chamber, those white eyes turned toward him. "The representative from Earth may speak," Melthos announced. His voice was soft, but it carried through the entire dome. Wu Jin walked to the center platform. He could feel the eyes of 1,000 aliens on him. His heart was pounding, but his face showed nothing. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he began, "I come to you from Earth, a world under attack. The Valorian Empire has invaded our solar system. They are killing our people. They are destroying our cities. They are draining our oceans and stripping our land. We have fought them with everything we have, but we are losing." He paused, looking around the chamber. "I am here to ask for your help." Silence. Then slowly, a sound began to rise. It took Wu Jin a moment to understand what it was. Laughter. The aliens were laughing at him. A large creature with green scales and a wide mouth spoke up. "The humans ask us to fight their battles for them. How amusing. Perhaps they should have built better ships." Another voice, thin and sharp. "The Valorians are too powerful. Even the Council does not challenge them directly. What makes you think we would risk our worlds for yours?" "Earth is a small planet," said a third. "Insignificant. If the Valorians want it, let them have it. There are countless other worlds." Wu Jin stood still, letting the words wash over him. Behind him, Lieutenant Siak's face was red with anger. Yuna put a hand on his arm to calm him. High Arbiter Melthos raised one thin hand and the chamber fell silent. "Commander," he said slowly, "Earth has been part of the galactic community for less than 5 standard years. You have contributed nothing of value to the Council. Your technology is primitive. Your species is young and reckless. Why should we spend our resources to save a world that has given us nothing?" Wu Jin's jaw tightened. "Because it is the right thing to do." More laughter, louder this time. "The right thing," Melthos repeated. "An interesting concept, but the Council does not operate on such simple ideas. We operate on balance, on benefit, on the greater good of the many, and the many have decided that Earth is not worth saving." He waved his hand. "Your petition is denied. You may return to your ship." Wu Jin did not move. The chamber grew quiet again, waiting to see what the human would do. Most expected him to bow his head and leave. That was what weaker species did. That was what was proper. But Wu Jin was not most representatives. "I have one more thing to say," he announced. Melthos's white eyes narrowed. "You have been dismissed." "I have traveled across the galaxy to stand in this chamber. My people are dying while I speak. You will hear me." The silence that followed was heavy and dangerous. No one spoke to the High Arbiter this way. No one. But Wu Jin was a human. And humans, as the galaxy would soon learn, did not follow the rules. The council chamber was completely silent. Every alien in the room stared at the small human standing on the central platform. Commander T. Wu Jin stood with his back straight and his eyes fixed on the High Arbiter. He had been dismissed. He had been told to leave, but he did not move. High Arbiter Melthos leaned forward in his seat, his white eyes glowing with something that might have been anger or might have been interest. "You dare to defy the will of this council." "I dare to speak the truth," Wu Jin replied. His voice was steady. "And the truth is that you are all afraid." A ripple of shock moved through the chamber. Dr. Kim Yuna closed her eyes and took a deep breath. This was either very brave or very stupid, maybe both. "You sit in this beautiful station," Wu Jin continued, "surrounded by comfort and safety. You make speeches about balance and the greater good, but when real danger comes, you hide. You close your eyes and hope it goes away." He pointed upward toward the stars beyond the dome. "The Valorians are out there. They are growing stronger every year, Every world they destroy makes them more powerful, and you do nothing. You tell yourselves that if you leave them alone, they will leave you alone. He lowered his hand. You are wrong. A creature with multiple heads spoke from the lower seats. We have treaties with the Valorians. They do not attack council worlds. Treaties? Wu Jin said the word like it tasted bad. Paper promises. Do you think the Valorians respect your treaties? They respect only power. And every time you refuse to help a world like Earth, you show them that you have no power. You show them that you are weak. You insult us, shouted a delegate from the far side of the chamber. We have fleets. We have weapons beyond your understanding. Then use them, Wu Jin shouted back. The force of his voice surprised everyone, including himself. Use them to protect the innocent. Use them to stand against evil. What is the point of having power if you are too afraid to use it? Melthos raised his hand again and the chamber fell quiet. The ancient being studied Wu Jin with those strange white eyes. You speak with passion, human, but passion does not win wars. The Valorians have conquered species far older and far stronger than yours. What makes you think you can defeat them? Wu Jin smiled. It was a strange smile, small and sad, because we have done it before. Done what? Survived the impossible. He began to walk slowly around the platform, speaking not just to the High Arbiter now, but to everyone in the chamber. Let me tell you about humanity. We are a young species. That is true. But do you know what we have survived to become what we are? No one answered. 65 million years before my time, Wu Jin said, a rock from space hit our planet. It was the size of a mountain. It killed nearly every living thing on Earth. But life survived. It found a way. He stopped and looked at a group of delegates who had been laughing earlier. 12,000 years ago, our planet was covered in ice. The cold lasted for generations. Many species died, but humans survived. We built fires. We made clothes from animal skins. We learned to work together. 500 years ago, he continued, a disease called the plague swept across our world. It killed 1 out of every 3 people in some regions. Entire cities were emptied, but we did not die. We adapted. We developed medicine. We became stronger. The chamber was completely quiet now. Even the aliens who had mocked him were listening. In the last century alone, we fought 2 wars that killed more than 100 million of our own people. We built weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We came to the edge of extinction more times than I can count. Wu Jin's voice dropped lower. And we are still here. He walked back to the center of the platform. That is what humans are. We are not the smartest species in the galaxy. We are not the strongest. We do not have the best technology or the longest history, but we have something that many of you have forgotten. And what is that? Melthos asked. We refuse to give up. For a long moment, no one spoke. Wu Jin let the silence grow. Then he made his announcement. In 3 galactic months, Earth will launch an attack on the Valorian fleet. We call it Operation Sunrise. We will use every ship we have left, every weapon, every person who can fight. We will attack them with everything we are. Murmurs broke out across the chamber. A delegate shouted, "That is suicide. You cannot defeat the Valorians with your primitive fleet." Maybe, Wu Jin admitted, but we will try, and we will not hide underground waiting for death. We will not run away to some distant corner of the galaxy and hope they never find us. We will stand and fight. He raised his voice. And I am here to offer you one chance. Stand with us. The murmurs grew louder. Some delegates laughed again, but fewer than before. Others whispered to each other, their alien faces showing emotions that Wu Jin could not read. Melthos spoke again. You ask us to join a suicide mission. I ask you to remember what courage looks like, Wu Jin replied. I ask you to think about what kind of galaxy you want to live in. One where the strong prey on the weak while everyone else looks away, or one where species stand together against evil. The Council has maintained peace for 10,000 years by avoiding unnecessary conflicts, Melthos said. What you propose would destroy that peace. What peace? Yuna suddenly spoke. Everyone turned to look at her. She stepped forward to stand beside Wu Jin. With respect, High Arbiter, there is no peace. There is only fear. The Valorians have destroyed 47 worlds in the last century. 47 species are gone forever. That is not peace. That is slow death. Lieutenant Park Siak stepped forward too. On Earth, we have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. He looked around the chamber. I see a lot of good people here. I wonder how many of you will do nothing. The chamber erupted into noise. Delegates argued with each other. Some demanded that the humans be removed. Others called for a formal vote. A few, surprisingly, called for the council to consider the human proposal. But Melthos raised his hand one final time, and silence returned. The council's position remains unchanged, he said. We will not involve ourselves in your conflict with the Valorians. This is our final answer. Wu Jin nodded slowly. He had expected this, but he had needed to try. He had needed the galaxy to see what the council truly was. Then we will fight alone, he said. And when the battle comes, I want you to watch, every single one of you. Watch what happens when a species refuses to accept defeat. Watch what humans can do when they have nothing left to lose. He began to walk toward the exit. Yuna and Siak followed him. But before he reached the doors, he stopped and turned back one last time. One more thing, he said. When we win, and we will win, do not send your diplomats to congratulate us. Do not ask to be our friends. You had your chance to stand with us, and you chose to laugh instead. His eyes swept across the chamber, meeting the gaze of every delegate he could see. Remember this moment. Remember how it feels to be afraid. Because one day the Valorians will come for your worlds too, and on that day you will wish you had chosen differently. With that, Commander T. Wujin walked out of the Galactic Council chamber. The doors closed behind him with a heavy sound that echoed through the dome. In the chamber, the delegates sat in uncomfortable silence. Some tried to return to other business. Others stared at the doors where the humans had disappeared. A few began to wonder if they had just made a terrible mistake. And far above them, hidden among the crowds watching from the observation galleries, representatives of forgotten species whispered to each other. They had heard the human's words. They had seen his courage. And they were beginning to remember what hope felt like. The horizon returned to Earth's solar system carrying disappointment and anger. Commander T. Wujin stood on the bridge and watched the blue planet grow larger in the viewscreen. Smoke still rose from the surface in places. The Valorian fleet hung in orbit like a ring of dark metal around the world he had sworn to protect. They had failed at the Council. No help would come. Humanity would face this enemy alone. Dr. Kim Yuna stood beside him. What do we do now? She asked quietly. We prepare, Wujin answered. We train, we build, and in 3 months we attack. With what? We have maybe 30 ships left. They have 200. Then we will have to be very creative. When they landed at the underground military base that served as Earth's last command center, Admiral Choi Nari was waiting for them. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been a soldier for 40 years, and she had never lost a battle she commanded. But the look on her face told Wu Jin that even she was worried. I heard about the council, she said. I did not expect help from them anyway. Politicians are the same everywhere, human or alien. We are alone then, Wu Jin said. Nari smiled. It was a dangerous smile. Not quite, come with me. She led them through the base to a large hangar that Wu Jin had never seen before. When the doors opened, he stopped in surprise. The hangar was filled with ships. Small ones, old ones, some barely held together with metal and hope, but there were dozens of them. Civilian vessels, Nari explained. Cargo ships, mining craft, research stations. When word spread that we were going to fight, people started arriving. Farmers, scientists, traders. None of them are soldiers, but all of them want to help. Wu Jin walked among the ships, touching their hulls. These were not warships. They had no weapons, no armor, no military systems. But they were here. Their owners had left everything behind to join a battle they knew they might not survive. "We can convert some of them," Lieutenant Park Seok said, already studying the vessels with a pilot's eye. "Add weapons. Improve the engines. It will not be much, but it is better than nothing." "Do it," Wu Jin ordered. "Use whatever materials we have." The next few days were filled with work. Engineers and mechanics worked without sleep to transform the civilian ships into something that could fight. Scientists developed new weapons using technology they barely understood. Soldiers trained for battles that seemed impossible to win. And then something unexpected happened. Wu Jin was in his office reviewing battle plans when an alert came through the communication system. A ship had entered the solar system. It was not human. It was not Valorian. "What is it?" Wu Jin demanded as he ran to the command center. "Unknown design," the communication officer reported. "It is small, no weapons detected. They are requesting permission to land." Wu Jin and Nari exchanged glances. "Let them," Nari decided, "but have security teams ready." The ship landed at the base an hour later. When the doors opened, creatures unlike anything Wu Jin had ever seen stepped out. They were tall and thin, with skin that seemed to shimmer between blue and green. Their faces had no eyes, only smooth surfaces that somehow still seemed to watch everything. One of them stepped forward. Its voice came from somewhere in its chest, translated by a small device hanging around its neck. "I am Veth. I speak for the Tessari." Yuna leaned close to Wu Jin. "The Tessari. Their homeworld was destroyed by the Valorians 50 years ago. They are refugees now, scattered across the galaxy." "We watched your speech to the Council," Veth continued. "We watched you stand alone before the most powerful beings in the galaxy and tell them they were cowards. We watched them laugh at you, and we decided to come." "Why?" Wu Jin asked. "Because you reminded us of something we had forgotten." Veth's strange voice grew softer. "You reminded us that we once had courage too, before the Valorians came, before our world burned. We used to fight. We used to hope. But after we lost everything, we forgot how." The Tessari elder moved closer to Wu Jin. "You gave us something that day, human. You gave us back our hope, and now we want to stand with you." Behind Veth, more ships were appearing in the sky. Small ships, damaged ships, ships held together by desperate repairs. But they kept coming. 10, 20, 30. "We are not many," Veth admitted. "And we are not strong anymore, but we remember the Valorians. We know how they fight. We can help you prepare." Wu Jin was speechless. He had expected to fight alone. He had accepted it, and now. "Welcome to Earth," he finally said. "We are honored to have you." Over the next week, more ships arrived. The Kelvani came next, a species of small, quick beings who had been slaves to the Valorians for generations. A group of them had escaped and had been hiding on the edges of the galaxy ever since. Their leader, a female named Ressa, brought engineers and technicians who knew Valorian technology better than anyone. "We built their weapons," Ressa explained to the human engineers. "We maintained their ships. We know their weaknesses, and now we will use that knowledge to destroy them." The Oran arrived shortly after. They were gentle giants, nearly 3 meters tall, with soft voices and kind eyes. The Oran had been pacifists for thousands of years. They did not believe in violence, but they believed in protecting life, and they had seen the Valorians kill too many innocent beings. "We cannot fight," their representative explained, "but we can heal. We can repair, we can carry the wounded, we will not stand by while others suffer." More species came. Some sent only a single ship. Others sent supplies, weapons, information. A Melori technician arrived secretly, bringing stolen data about Council defense systems in case the Council ever changed its position. A group of Valorian deserters appeared, soldiers who had grown sick of the endless killing and wanted to make things right. Admiral Nari organized everything. She assigned the alien engineers to work with human teams. She put the Kelvani technicians in charge of understanding enemy weapons. She established training programs where human pilots and alien volunteers learned to fight together. Lieutenant Siak became the chief instructor. He discovered that the Tessari had incredible reflexes, faster than any human. He learned that the Kelvani could process information with amazing speed. Each species had strengths that could be used. "We are not just adding numbers," Siak told Wujin one evening. "We are creating something new, a fleet that thinks in ways the Valorians have never seen. We fight together, we learn from each other, we become stronger than any of us could be alone." Yuna worked with the scientists from different worlds. Together, they developed new weapons, new shields, new tactics. She found that knowledge shared was knowledge multiplied. Problems that had stopped human scientists for months were solved in days when alien minds approached them from different angles. In the command center, Wujin watched the screens showing the growing fleet. It was still small compared to the Valorian armada. They were still outgunned, outnumbered, outmatched in almost every way. But they were not alone anymore. Veth came to stand beside him. "The Council calls us the Forgotten," the Tessari said. "They abandoned our worlds, they left us to die, but you remembered us. You invited us to fight beside you." "We need each other," Wujin replied. "Yes, but you were the first to reach out your hand. You were the first to show courage when no one else would. That is why we are here. Not because we think we will win, but because for the first time in many years we feel like we matter." Wujin turned to look at the alien. "We will win, Veth. I promise you. The Valorians have never faced anything like us before. They have never faced a force built on hope instead of fear." Through the window of the command center, the sky was full of ships. Human ships and alien ships, side by side, preparing for the battle that would decide the future of Earth and perhaps the entire galaxy. The Forgotten were gathering, and they were ready to be remembered. 3 months passed like a heartbeat. The Allied fleet hid on the dark side of the moon, away from Valorian sensors, waiting for the signal that would begin Operation Sunrise. Commander T. Wujin walked through the corridors of his flagship, the Phoenix, seeing the faces of humans and aliens preparing for battle. Some were praying. Some were checking weapons. Some were simply sitting in silence, thinking about what was to come. Dr. Kim Yuna found him on the observation deck, staring at the stars. "The fleet is ready," she said. "Nari has confirmed all units are in position." "How many?" Wujin asked. 93 ships, against their 208. The numbers were still not good, but they were better than they had been, and numbers were not everything. "The Council is watching," Yuna continued. "Our spy in Meridian Prime says they have gathered in the Great Chamber to observe. They want to see what happens." "Good, let them watch." At exactly 600 hours Earth time, Wujin gave the order. "All ships, this is Commander Wujin. Operation Sunrise begins now, for Earth, for the Forgotten, for everyone who was told they did not matter. Today we prove them wrong." The fleet moved out from behind the moon like a wave of light against the darkness. 93 ships, each one carrying soldiers who had chosen to fight instead of surrender. Human cruisers flew beside Tessari scouts. Kelvani gunships moved in formation with converted cargo vessels. The Oran medical ships hung back, ready to rescue the wounded. The Valorians detected them immediately. Archon Velith, commander of the Valorian fleet, sat in his chair aboard the massive flagship Dominion. He was a creature of cold calculation, with gray skin and eyes that had watched 100 worlds burn. When his officers reported the incoming enemy fleet, he did not even sit up straight. 90 ships, he said. Against us, how amusing. The humans are more foolish than I thought. Open a channel. His face appeared on every screen in the Allied fleet. Humans, I am Archon Velith. I offer you one chance to surrender. Lay down your weapons and I will make your deaths quick. Continue this foolish attack and I will burn your planet to ash. On the Phoenix, Wu Jin nodded to his communications officer. Send the response. The officer pressed a button. Across every Valorian ship, a single sound played through the speakers. It was a human heartbeat, steady, calm, unafraid. Velith's eyes narrowed. So be it. The battle began. The Valorian fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their ships arranged in the pattern they had used to conquer dozens of worlds. They expected the humans to meet them head-on. They expected a simple fight, quick and brutal. They were wrong. All ships execute pattern chaos. Admiral Nari commanded from her position aboard the carrier Sunrise. The Allied fleet did something that made no sense to Valorian strategists. Instead of meeting the enemy in formation, they scattered. Ships flew in every direction, breaking every rule of space combat. Small fighters dove between larger vessels. Cruisers circled around the flanks. The cargo ships, loaded with weapons instead of supplies, split into groups of 3 and attacked from multiple angles. The Valorians were confused. Their targeting systems were designed to track organized formations. This chaos was something they had never encountered. Before they could adapt, the first wave of attacks struck. Captain Lee Hanna piloted her cruiser, the Thunder, straight at the center of the Valorian line. Her weapons officer fired everything they had, not at the enemy hulls but at their shield generators. The Valorians laughed. Those shields had stopped weapons far more powerful. But the Thunder was not trying to break through the shields. It was drawing attention. And while the Valorians focused on Hana, 3 Tessari scouts slipped past them, invisible to their sensors. The Tessari had learned, during decades of running from the Valorians, how to hide even in plain sight. The scouts reached the flagship Dominion and attached small devices to its outer hull. Then they disappeared back into the chaos of battle. Charges are set, the Tessari leader reported. Detonate, Nari ordered. The explosions were small, but they hit exactly the right spots. The Dominion's shield generators flickered and died. For the first time, Archon Velith felt something cold in his chest, something that might have been fear. All ships, the flagship is vulnerable, Wu Jin announced. Attack. 30 ships turned toward the Dominion at once. Velith screamed orders at his fleet to protect the flagship, but the humans were everywhere. Every time the Valorians formed a defensive line, Allied ships attacked from behind. Every time they gathered their forces in one place, enemies appeared in another. Engineer Beek Jin was aboard the station Freedom, an old mining platform that had been converted into a weapons platform. He had spent weeks studying Valorian engine designs with the Calvani engineers. He knew their weakness. "Commander," he said through the communication channel, "I have a plan. It is dangerous." "I am listening," Wu Jin replied. "If I overload the station's core, I can create an artificial gravity well. It will be small, but enough to pull nearby ships off course. If I time it right, I can drag a group of Valorian destroyers into each other. You would not survive." "I know." There was silence on the channel. Then Nari's voice came through. "Jin, there has to be another way." "There is not. I have calculated it 100 times. This is the best option." Jin's voice was calm, almost peaceful. "I was a miner before the war. I never thought I would be important, never thought I would matter. But today I can save thousands of lives. That is worth something." Wu Jin closed his eyes. This was the cost of war. This was what they had chosen. "Do it, Jin, and thank you. Tell my daughter I loved her." The station Freedom moved into position, directly in the path of 12 Valorian destroyers that were pushing toward Earth. Jin worked the controls with steady hands, pushing the old reactor beyond its limits. Warning lights flashed. Metal groaned. The temperature in the control room began to rise. The Valorians saw the station and dismissed it as irrelevant, a mistake. Jin smiled as the reactor reached critical levels. "For Earth," he whispered. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. A flash of white light, and then a wave of gravitational force that grabbed the 12 destroyers and pulled them together. They collided in a storm of metal and fire, destroying each other completely. The tide of battle was turning. Captain Hana, still alive aboard the damaged Thunder, saw an opportunity. The Dominion was trying to retreat, its shields still down, its escorts scattered. But her ship's engines were failing. She could not chase them. So she did something crazy. She pointed the Thunder directly at the flagship and pushed the engines to full power. "Hana, what are you doing?" Siak shouted over the channel. "Finishing this. Get everyone off my ship, now." The crew rushed to the escape pods. Hana stayed at the controls, guiding her wounded ship toward the heart of the enemy flagship. Velith saw her coming and screamed for his gunners to stop her. They fired everything they had. The Thunder was hit again and again. Pieces of it broke away into the void. But Hana held course. She ejected from the ship 3 seconds before impact, her escape pod spinning wildly into space. The Thunder hit the Dominion's engine section and exploded. The flagship began to fall. Without engines, without shields, it was helpless. Velith stared at his screens in disbelief. This could not be happening. He had conquered worlds. He had never lost a battle. How could these primitive creatures be defeating him? "All Valorian ships retreat," he finally ordered. The words tasted like poison. Full retreat. But the humans did not let them go easily. The Allied fleet chased the fleeing Valorians to the edge of the solar system, destroying ship after ship. The Kelvani pilots, once slaves, flew with special fury. They had waited generations for this moment. By the time the sun rose over Earth, the Valorian fleet was broken. Of their 208 ships, less than 50 escaped. The rest were debris, floating in the darkness between worlds. On the surface of Earth, people came out of their shelters and looked up at the sky. They saw the lights of battle fading. They saw the enemy ships turning and running, and they realized what had happened. They had won. In the command center, Wu Jin sat down heavily in his chair. He was exhausted beyond words. Around him, officers were cheering, crying, embracing each other. Humans and aliens together, celebrating a victory that no one had believed possible. Yuna came to stand beside him. "We did it." "Yes," Wu Jin said quietly, "but the cost." He thought of Jin, of the pilots who would never come home, of the ships that were now tombs floating in space. Victory always came with a price. But they were alive. Earth was free, and the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. Veth approached them, his eyeless face somehow showing deep emotion. "The forgotten species fought beside you today. We lost many friends, but we also found something we thought was gone forever." "What is that?" Yuna asked. "Our pride, our purpose. You gave us that, Commander, and we will never forget." Outside the window, the sun was rising over a wounded but free planet. Operation Sunrise had succeeded. The impossible had become real. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the surviving Valorians carried a warning back to their empire. Do not underestimate the humans. They do not know how to surrender. The news spread across the galaxy like fire across dry grass. Earth had won. The humans had defeated the Valorians. A young species, armed with primitive technology and second-hand ships, had destroyed one of the most feared fleets in the known universe. At first, no one believed it. The reports must be wrong, they said. The Valorians were invincible. They had conquered 47 worlds. How could a single planet, a single species barely capable of interstellar travel, have beaten them? But the evidence was impossible to ignore. Video recordings from dozens of ships showed the battle in perfect detail. They showed the chaos tactics. They showed human pilots ramming their vessels into enemy ships. They showed the Allied fleet, humans and forgotten species fighting side by side, chasing the mighty Valorian armada out of the solar system. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. On Meridian Prime, the Galactic Council sat in their great chamber with nothing to say. High Arbiter Melthos had not moved from his seat for hours. His white eyes stared at nothing. Around him, delegates whispered to each other, none willing to be the first to speak. Finally, a young delegate from a minor species stood up. "We should send congratulations to Earth. We should recognize their victory." "And admit that we were wrong," another delegate snapped. "Admit that we could have helped them and chose not to." "We should have helped them," said a third voice. "Perhaps if we had, the victory would have been easier, fewer would have died." The argument continued for hours. Some wanted to pretend nothing had happened. Some wanted to reach out to Earth immediately. Others feared what the humans might do next. They had proven themselves capable of the impossible. What else might they be capable of? High Arbiter Melthos finally raised his hand and silence fell. "I will go to Earth," he announced. His voice was tired, old. "I will speak to the human commander myself." "You cannot," several delegates shouted. "The High Arbiter has never traveled to a lesser world. It is beneath your position." Melthos stood slowly. "Then perhaps it is time to change what positions mean." He looked around the chamber at the representatives of hundreds of species who had sat and done nothing while Earth fought for survival. "We called them primitive. We called them young and foolish. We laughed at them, and they proved us wrong in ways we cannot ignore." He walked toward the doors of the chamber. "I go to learn from them. I suggest you all do the same." 2 weeks later, a council ship entered Earth's solar system. It was escorted by human cruisers, guided carefully past the debris fields that still floated where the battle had been fought. Thousands of pieces of destroyed ships hung in space, a memorial to those who had given everything. The ship landed in what had once been a great city. Now it was rubble. Buildings that had stood for centuries were broken shells. Streets were filled with dust and stone. But among the ruins, people were working. They were clearing debris, building shelters, planting gardens in the ashes. High Arbiter Melthos stepped off his ship and looked around with eyes that had seen countless worlds. He had witnessed civilizations rise and fall. He had watched species destroy themselves and others, but he had never seen anything quite like this. Commander T. Wu-jin was waiting for him. The human looked older than Melthos remembered. There were new lines on his face, new shadows under his eyes, but he stood straight and his voice was strong. "High Arbiter, welcome to Earth." "Thank you, Commander." Melthos hesitated. "I wish to see your world, to understand what you have been through." Wu-jin nodded. "Then come with me." They walked through the ruined city together, the ancient alien and the human commander. Melthos saw the mass graves where thousands had been buried. He saw the hospitals where wounded soldiers and civilians were still being treated. He saw the children playing in the streets, laughing despite everything they had lost. They stopped at a small shelter where a girl was carrying buckets of water to a group of soldiers. She was young, maybe 10 years old. Her clothes were dirty and torn, but she moved with purpose, and when she saw Wu-jin, she smiled. "Commander, I helped again today. I carried 20 buckets." Wu-jin knelt down to her level. "That is very good, Sue. Your parents would be proud." The girl's smile flickered. "I miss them." "I know, we all miss someone." Sue looked at Melthos with curious eyes. "Are you an alien? You look strange." Melthos made a sound that might have been a laugh. "I am, and you look strange to me as well, young one." "Did you come to help us?" The question was simple, but it cut deep. Melthos remembered the day when Earth had asked for help, and the Council had refused. He remembered the laughter in the chamber. He remembered saying that Earth was not worth saving. "I came too late to help with the fighting," he admitted, "but I hope I can help now." Sue nodded seriously. Okay, we need lots of help. There is too much broken stuff. She walked away with her buckets, and Melthos stood in silence for a long moment. She lost her family, he finally asked. Her parents were killed in the first attack, Wu Jin said. She survived because she was at school when it happened. During the siege, she carried water and food to soldiers, even when bombs were falling around her. She never stopped helping. She is very brave. She is human. They continued walking. Melthos saw alien ships helping to clear debris, Tessari and Kelvani and Oran working alongside human crews. He saw engineers from different species repairing power systems together. He saw doctors treating patients without caring what world they came from. You have built something remarkable here, Melthos said, an alliance of the forgotten. We did not build it, Wu Jin replied. We just reminded them that they were not alone. They did the rest themselves. They reached a hill overlooking the city. Admiral Choi Nari was there, looking out at the reconstruction efforts. She nodded to Melthos but did not bow. The time for bowing to the council was over. I came to offer Earth membership in the Galactic Council, Melthos said. Full membership with all protections and privileges. It is the least we can do. Wu Jin and Nari exchanged glances. We do not want your protection, Wu Jin said. We learned that we cannot depend on others to save us. We must save ourselves. Then what do you want? Wu Jin turned to face the High Arbiter directly. We want your promise, your word, bound by whatever laws and agreements your council recognizes. Promise that you will never again abandon a world that asks for help. Promise that when the next Earth calls for aid, you will answer. Melthos was quiet for a long time. What the human was asking was not simple. It would change the entire foundation of how the council operated. It would require courage, commitment, sacrifice. Everything the council had avoided for 10,000 years. If I agree to this, Melthos said slowly, it will mean conflicts, wars, loss. Yes, Wu Jin agreed, but it will also mean something else. What? It will mean that the galaxy is not ruled by fear anymore. It will mean that when a species is threatened, they will have hope. Real hope, not empty words. Dr. Kim Yuna approached them. She had been visiting the hospital, checking on the wounded. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was steady. Do you know what kept us fighting, High Arbiter? It was not hate. It was not revenge. It was hope. Hope that our sacrifice would mean something. Hope that our children would live in a better galaxy. She stood beside Wu Jin. You can give that hope to every species that has ever been afraid. You can change what the council represents. You can make it stand for something real. Melthos looked at these humans, these impossible creatures who had defeated an empire, and then asked not for revenge, but for justice. He thought of all the worlds the council had abandoned, all the species that had disappeared while the council debated and waited. Very well, he said finally. I will take your terms to the council, and I will fight for them. Wu Jin extended his hand. Melthos looked at it confused. It is a human custom, Yuna explained. When making an agreement, we shake hands. It means we trust each other. Slowly, Melthos took the human's hand. The grip was warm, strong, alive with possibility. The galaxy will remember this day, Melthos said. That is what we hope. Later that evening, Yuna stood on a balcony watching the sunset over the rebuilding city. The sky was painted in colors of orange and red and gold. Alien ships moved overhead, helping to repair what had been destroyed. Nari joined her. Do you think they will keep their word? I do not know, Yuna admitted, but it does not really matter. Why not? Yuna watched a group of children running through the streets below, human and alien children playing together. Because now the galaxy knows what we are capable of. They know that if they abandon another world like they abandoned us, that world can still fight back. They know that the forgotten are not weak. She turned to face Nari, and they know something else too. What is that? Yuna smiled. It was the first real smile she had allowed herself in months. They know that humans do not stay down. No matter how many times we fall, we get back up. No matter how bad things get, we keep going. That is who we are. That is what makes us human. Nari nodded slowly. She looked out at the sunset, at the wounded but healing world below. Do you think we will face more challenges, more enemies? Of course, that is life, but now we do not face them alone. In the distance, a bell began to ring. It was the signal that the day's work was done, that the crews could rest. But even as the sound faded, Yuna could see people still moving, still building, still helping each other. They were humans. They did not know how to stop. And somewhere across the galaxy, in council chambers and military bases and hidden refugee camps, other species were watching Earth. They were watching humanity pick up the pieces and build something new. They were watching the forgotten stand tall. And they were learning that hope was not just a word. It was a choice to stand up when everyone else stayed down, a choice to reach out when everyone else pulled away, a choice to believe that tomorrow could be better than today. Earth had made that choice, and now the galaxy would never be the same.